know what I don't talk about enough on this channel? Fucking movies. Which is strange, because I watch a lot of them. And I have a lot of opinions about them too. I watched a shit ton of them in 2014. Not all of them. There's some that I missed that I would have watched. But shit, everybody else is making a top 10 list of these things, so... I mean, I wouldn't be doing justice if I didn't. So, here's my top 10 movies of 2014. Number 10, John Wick. And if you would have told me at any point in my entire life that a fucking Keanu Reeves movie would be on a top 10 favorites of mine, I would have laughed in your face. I would have invaded North Korea, stole a powerful bomb, bombed some strange country, started this fucking war that was... Do you notice how quickly that escalated? That's how unprecedented that this fucking revelation was. That holy shit. I loved a Keanu Reeves movie. John Wick, this movie was chock full of style, humor, and some amazing action and some amazing choreography. I am a sucker for that kind of shit. No, Keanu Reeves is not the greatest actor in the world. In fact, he's not very good. But he can do one thing, and he does it in this movie. Well, he can do two things. He has good choreography. He can fight like a motherfucker. Okay, there's two and then three more. He's got the good stoic thing going. All right, there. He does have a charm, and that's okay. He's good for this sort of movie. Another thing, the humor. Listen, I am a huge fan of humor. I'm probably a bigger fan of humor than anything else in the entire universe. So whenever I say that, I like the style of humor that's in this movie. It's dark, it's punchy, it's quick, but it's delivered in such a way to me that's unique. It's really tongue-in-cheek in a way. But the style here, the style all works in this dark mesh of like cool action, but doesn't take itself way too seriously because the plot is kind of silly. I'm not going to get into the plot here because this is me. I'm reviewing the movie. I'm not telling you about the movie. I'm not giving you a synopsis here. But the plot's a little silly and over the top, but it's like works so fucking perfectly. But when it comes to action movies, yeah, they're typically bad. And most of these cynical snobs want to immediately toss any action movie, right into the pit that Michael Bay dug. With his Transformers shit and all that other garbage he's made. But not all action movies are like that. A lot of them are these days because they make money and, good crowd pleasers or whatever. But this is not that. Cynics watch this movie. Cynics be damned. This is a really good fucking movie. And that's why it's on this list. Are you ready for the next 9? Number 9, the Lego Movie. Yeah, there's an animated movie on this list. I haven't really super, enjoyed a fucking animated movie in what seems like forever. But this one made it. Mostly because leaving the theater after watching this, I couldn't exactly pinpoint at the time, but I felt a little nostalgic about this movie. I had a kind of a flashback, kind of like some recessed feelings there. So after a while, after thinking about it, like, holy shit, Looney Tunes. This movie reminded me of Looney Tunes. The wit, both physically and, dialogue driven. It had this sharpness to it that you don't really see in animated movies anymore. But that's okay. You're never too old to appreciate a good fucking cartoon. This is a really unique cartoon, made by the same people, by the way, who did 22 Jump Street, which is a far cry from what this movie is. You have 22 Jump Street, which is a really raunchy but hilarious comedy. Then you have Lego Movie, which sticks to its guns by being a family-friendly movie, but also being way better than that. Also having a sharp wit to it without needing, 1,000 dick jokes in it. Not to say dick jokes can't be funny. Like I said, 22 was funny. But this movie, kids will appreciate it for both its visuals and for its wacky nature. Adults will get a lot of the dialogue and some of the quick wit. So anybody can enjoy this. I work at a movie theater, and parents bring their kids to the movies. Not bring their movies to the kids, though it's possible with DVDs. Anyways. And they would all leave out laughing. They all left with a little piece of something that they really appreciated about this movie. And that's important. If you can make a cartoon that can appeal to all generations, you've done some really good shit. And they did some really fucking good shit with this movie. Number 8. Yes, 8. I'm getting really good at this finger thing. Nightcrawler. I don't feel like this movie is for the general audience. Obviously. I mean, it's a rated R, but really creepy fucking film. But see, this is the problem I have with the way people are viewing this film. I don't feel like most people are watching it for what it is. At first, when I first left it, I had a little bit of a dilemma going on too with the way it ended, but I'll get into that in a moment. People think, some of these people that are leaving it and watching it, they say that they're not sure whether or not that they should like it. Whether they shouldn't like the character, or whether they shouldn't like the message. For one, it's not a preachy message. In fact, it's more of a warning of, what greed can do. I mean, and the character was not greedy in terms of money. He was greedy with success. He didn't care who got hurt or what he had to do to achieve with the thing he wanted, which was, capturing news stories, which he manipulates certain situations so that somebody gets hurt and he has a good fucking story. See, that's the thing. That's what it preaches against. Well, I say preach. It does not preach. People think that, the movie's trying to tell you to be like this character, when it's totally not. The dude's a creep. He does end up successful, but at what price? The price and expense of everyone else, which is a problem. That's not right. But I don't really think the movie's trying to do anything like that. It's just telling a story. It doesn't have to be a true story, and it doesn't have to be, although there's probably some fucked up shit going on in the news media. In fact, I know there is. Anyways, it's not telling you to be like this character. It's wanting you to, on your own, learn that for one, it's just a story, and two, that clearly you don't want to be like this motherfucker, even though he's successful and shit. With that being said, this movie was amazing. Jake Gyllenhaal, he keeps getting better and better, if you ask me. I did like Donnie Darko. I feel that's kind of how he got his start. And from here, he is really putting together a good body of work, if you ask me. The dude's excellent. He's a great actor. And the rest of the people in it, they're mostly supporting. There's no other really big name in it. But they all work perfectly in this movie. And this movie is both creepy and, I don't know, it's quirky too. The way it ends, I'll get to that now, was kind of sudden, and it didn't end necessarily. At the time, I didn't think it told a complete story. It just kind of had all this creepy shit, and then this weird ending that just I'm not going to spoil it, but. And then I thought about it, it actually tells a complete story. It's really more of a story of a personality than it is a story of events. If that makes sense. Number 7. Nailing it. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Back in the day, the Wahlberg ape movies, I couldn't dig it. You want to know why? Mostly because the apes were people in ape suits. Yeah, that's what they looked like and that's what they were. I prefer these CGI apes way fucking better. Actually have facial expressions and shit. Clearly they're CGI, and a lot of the times I have a problem with that, but in this case it's pretty awesome. This movie was highly fucking suspenseful, and that's important with a movie like this. But this movie is kind of deeper than that as well. It also, timelines kind of the evolution of both man and society. And in the first one, which was, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, you see the beginnings of what happened. Now the apes have fucking risen. They have been risen, and now they're dawning. Their civilization is dawning. Now there's this war against the humans and the apes. The apes have formed this whole society, and so have the humans. It's just sort of post-apocalyptic, and it's really neat. But Caesar, who is the leader of the apes, the smartest of the apes, one of the few apes that can actually, has a language. God damn, I know that Andy Serkis was fucking Caesar. And goddamn, Andy Serkis, just stay off the camera and do everything that is, motion capture. And he does so well at selling a character when he's not actually there. It's brilliant. Anyways, I've never been so, moved by something that wasn't there, which was a monkey who was a CGI monkey. But he has more character than any human in that movie. It was bizarre and it was awesome, and I highly recommend that fucking movie. Number 6, Snowpiercer. I was really late to the game in this movie. Really late. People were talking about it, I saw that it was on Netflix, but it kind of looked like this really cheesy B movie. But oh, was I wrong. I should have watched it way sooner because this movie was fucking brilliant. Yeah, it really flew under the radar. It didn't get this big theatrical release, but as we said earlier, a lot of these mainstream action movies are garbage. But this movie is a lot more than that. It takes place in, I guess would be I believe it was the future, and it's just the climate has gone so out of whack because of pollution shit that people cannot live outside, so they all live on a fucking train. An entire society has been built on this ever-moving fucking train. Sort of like Planet of the Apes, like I just mentioned. Societies will form. That's evolution. That's how it works. Anyways, so, it's kind of a rags to riches story, which is always fun. Which is always I love underdog stories. They're really good. But this is not your typical underdog story. This is not, underdog story has really, there's tons of movies about it now. They could be doing anything. But this is fucking unique. This is a unique one. I don't know really a lot to say without spoiling shit because there's a lot, and I don't want to overlong this video. There's a lot that can be said about this movie. But it was really reminiscent of Elysium to me. Just kind of poor, oppressed, and knowing that there's at the fucking head of the train, the answer's there. And that you've been oppressed and it's time to fucking stand up. You're tired of seeing people get hurt and starve. And so you do some shit and it fucking grips you, I promise. And for a fucking B movie, it has really chock full of good actors. You get fucking Chris Evans, who I didn't know could be that fucking good. And then you get Tilda Swinton, who I knew is good and is still good in this. I'm not meaning to flip you off. I was just let's move on. We're halfway through. Number 5, Edge of Tomorrow. God damn, I wish this movie would have came out when I was young. It feels like a movie that came out when I was young, which was, I grew up in the 90s. Actually, no, I'm glad it came out now because it's kind of a revival of what big blockbusters used to be and can be, and that is good, that they can be good, and Edge of Tomorrow is really fucking good. It kind of reminds me of a little bit of classic Spielberg, or it's kind of got that Jurassic Park cheesiness in the dialogue, but it's not so cheesy that you're God damn, I can't even handle this. It's that kind of cheesy that's purposely cheesy, but it has so much character and charisma in it that you can't help but laugh because the characters are so well done. The characters are so well acted. And speaking of acted, Tom Cruise is still a leading man. He's Looney Tunes for fucking sure. But as, I said earlier, Looney Tunes are fucking awesome. And Tom Cruise is awesome. He proves that after all this time, he can still lead a brilliant movie. And Emily Blunt to boot, is both beautiful in this movie, and she really supports Tom Cruise like a motherfucker. Their charisma, their whole thing on the camera was some really good shit. This is also a movie I don't want to go too hard into because there's a lot to it as well, but just trust me when I say that you need to see this movie if you have not. Number 4, Boyhood. God damn this movie. Okay, so this is not an epic movie, but it is an epic movie because, to me, epic has a lot to do with length, and it took fucking 12 years to make this film. 12 years. And it's a film that's just a drama. It just tells a really, really simple story about a kid who grew up in the 90s, and, it highlights, his struggles, his philosophical dilemmas. This is more than just a story, though. There is kind of this whole philosophical message it's trying to relay. First of all, us 90 kids finally have a movie. This kind of like a time capsule, if you will. All other generations have it, but finally us 90 kids have been around long enough to where we kind of have our movie now. The boy who it centers around, was so much like me. He watched like the same animes I did, and he had that same boyish wonder and creativity that I've always had. And part of the philosophical message in this movie is that, like, you need to hang on to that. You need to hang on to that imagination. You need to hang on to that sort of boyish wonder, that childish wonder, because this life can be tough. Because this movie kind of highlights, like, also the kids' parents and different generations in all walks of life. Different classes and shit. And its overall message is that, like, nobody really has all this life shit figured out. Alright? And you shouldn't be expected to. Just do what makes you happy. But hang on to that kind of childish nature of you. Otherwise, you're going to go insane. You're never going to find yourself that way. So it's good message, really neatly directed, and very ambitious on both a technical and intellectual level. Alright? For all people all around, everybody was excellent in this fucking movie. Number 3, The Babadook. Alright, so it's been a really long time since the horror genre really had its heyday. A lot of people consider, like, the slasher films from the 80s, like Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th and shit, is scary. I don't think they're that scary. I think they're good, but they don't scare me. They're just gruesome, which is fine. It's fun, but it's not scary. But the fucking Babadook does not rely on what all horror films rely on today. You're not gonna catch teenagers sneaking into the Babadook and fucking in the back. No. This movie does not resort to that. Them kids, they might sneak in, but they will sneak right the fuck back out. Because this movie is genuinely haunting. And it will stick with you throughout the rest of the day, and you'll be thinking about it for a while. Because I have not watched a movie that legitimately creeped me out quite like this one does. And goddamn, the acting, the kid, Noah Wiseman. I've never seen a child actor as good as this guy. It's insane. Like, and his mother, I don't remember the actress's name, but she also, them two, I was convinced that they was mother and son. I was about to say daughter, but we're not talking about a daughter. And this movie is not just about the Babadook, which is the antagonist, ghost, whatever the fuck it is. It's more of like, it's kind of a psychological film too. And you really feel the stress of the characters. Both of them killed it at the acting. And the suspense in this movie and the sounds. To me, what makes a fucking good horror movie is what you can't see a lot of the times. You need to be able to see it eventually, but this does it all just right. It's kind of a short film, so there's not a lot I want to say so I don't spoil it. But when I say that you want to watch a really scary fucking movie, watch this one. Because it's probably my favorite ever. Oh, we're getting close. As fuck. We're at number 2 now. You know what comes after 2? 1. Well, when you're going in reverse. Oh, but we're at 2 now. And I jungled around 1 and 2 a lot. This one almost took number 1. So that I want to say that because I don't want to take anything away from this film. And that is Birdman. Which, whenever I say Boyhood was really ambitious, this movie was fucking ambitious. There was like, I don't know, 4 cuts in the whole movie. And if you can pull off that many long takes without fucking up, Jesus Christ. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of fuck-ups, but I mean, there are certain parts of the film where you can see where the transition is, but the way that it just like is always moving and very cleverly hides the cuts and takes really long takes, all the actors had to be straight up on point. And there's probably a lot of improv in this movie, and even it was amazing. This highlights really an identity crisis of the main character, the protagonist. He's an actor. I don't want to give you the synopsis here, but he kind of has an identity crisis because he was made famous by one thing, which is Birdman, sensationalism, and he went on to work after this, but nothing ever seemed to live up to Birdman because he was expected to be one fucking thing. So with that being said, mostly it's technically why this movie is so ambitious, but also the acting too. Like, I can't even get over how well this movie was made. Visually beautiful, acted beautifully. Michael Keaton, he has something that I feel like even a lot of these young charismatic actors and some of the older charismatic actors don't have. He has the perfect blend of drama, anger, but fucking comedy. God damn. If you've never seen when he was in Much Ado About Nothing, watch that shit. Keanu Reeves is also in that, by the way, but it's fucking hilarious. So with that being said, you gotta watch this movie. You will never see a movie like this before. You will never see, you will never see it before either, because it just changed the fucking game. We've arrived at number 1. Some of you probably, if you've been paying close attention, know what it is. You've seen it coming. This whole video. I'm not going to give it away. No, I am, because that's the point of the video. Guardians of the Galaxy. That's what I was saying. I was really conflicted between this one and Birdman. But Guardians is the only movie on this list that I saw more than once and enjoyed it more each and every time. This movie is a really good sci-fi movie, for one. I'm just going to say that. It's full of action and visuals that are really neat. But to me, what it more so is a character movie. And the characters in this movie are actually fucking genuinely infectious. It is bizarre. I have a favorite character, and that's Drax, because of how dry and literal he was. It was fucking hilarious. Not to take anything away from Star-Lord and the rest of the crew, they all had a perfect place in this. But Drax was my favorite. With that all being said, it's like, this movie, much like Edge of Tomorrow, is kind of a callback to when blockbusters were more charismatic. And there was, I knew nothing about Guardians of the Galaxy before this movie came out. Never read a single comic book of it in my life. But I'm immediately a fan by seeing it. Well, we did it, everybody. We made it all through my top 10 movies of 2014. Sorry it came so late. Well, not that late. Second month into this new year. I hope to do this again at the end of this year. What did you think about the list, and what are some of yours? Until next video, I shall see you motherfuckers later.